In 1947, Elizabeth Short's gruesome murder shocked the nation, casting a dark shadow over Hollywood's glamours. Her story, haunted by unfulfilled dreams and a terrifying end, remains unsolved to this day. Join us as we unravel every detail of her tragic journey, the secrets of the investigation, and the chilling suspects who may have committed the perfect crime. Imagine walking down a quiet Los Angeles street in the early morning, the city shrouded in the fog of a chilly January day. You're focused on your steps, guiding your young daughter by the hand, when you suddenly spot something on the ground, something white and still, lying by the roadside. You stop, your breath catching in your throat, as you realize it's no discarded mannequin or pile of trash. Instead, before you lies a woman's body, mutilated and posed with unsettling precision. This was the grim discovery that began the Black Dahlia murder investigation, a mystery that's confounded the public and police alike for over 7 decades. Elizabeth Short's murder shocked the nation and remains one of the most infamous cold cases in American history. Her story is one of dreams, deception, and death, a grim testament to Hollywood's darker side. Today, we're diving into the twisted case of the Black Dahlia, exploring her life, her tragic end, and the labyrinthine investigation that followed. Elizabeth Short, better known by her haunting nickname, the Black Dahlia, has become an icon of Hollywood's unsolved mysteries, her name synonymous with dreams shattered by the harsh reality lurking behind Hollywood's glittering facade. In 1947, she was just 22, a young woman filled with hopes of stardom and a better life. Yet her tragic death, marked by violence and brutality, was a stark contrast to her dreams of fame. The Black Dahlia case emerged during a time when Hollywood was in its golden era, and the allure of fame brought thousands of young men and women to Los Angeles each year. Yet not everyone found fortune, and the city soon became home to stories of desperation and lost dreams. Elizabeth's life and her brutal end embodied this contrast, symbolizing the dangers hidden within the very city that promised her so much. As we delve into this tragic story, we uncover the depth of her dreams, the eerie circumstances surrounding her last days, and the shadowy figures who may have crossed her path. Born on July 29, 1924, in Hyde Park, Massachusetts, Elizabeth Short's early years were far from glamorous. Her family faced financial struggles, compounded by the disappearance of her father, who abandoned his wife and 5 daughters when Elizabeth was just 6 years old. Her mother, left with the daunting task of raising her children alone, managed to support the family, but financial security was always elusive. Elizabeth, known to friends and family for her striking beauty and delicate, pale features, grew up longing for more than the ordinary. As she entered her teenage years, she became fascinated with Hollywood and the glamorous lives of movie stars. She dreamed of an escape from the hardships she endured, believing that fame and fortune awaited her on the West Coast. By the time she was 19, Elizabeth had already made several attempts to reach California, each time meeting with setbacks. Yet, she persisted, bouncing between friends' couches and short-term relationships, trying to find stability in a city that could be unforgiving. Nicknamed the Black Dahlia for her dark attire and distinctive black hair, she exuded a mysterious charm. Her life in Los Angeles was, however, far from the image of a starlet. She was often homeless, moving frequently, and at times relying on the kindness of acquaintances. The line between survival and success was thin, and Elizabeth was walking that razor's edge. Elizabeth's life paints a picture of a young woman who was full of dreams, even if her reality was harsh. She wasn't naive, but perhaps in the eyes of her killer, she was vulnerable. Her beauty and aspirations may have made her a target, a fatal combination in a city filled with those looking to prey on the innocent and desperate. In January 1947, her journey ended in the most horrific way, her dreams extinguished in a manner that would haunt Los Angeles forever. Timeline of events leading to the discovery. Before the final days, Elizabeth's last confirmed sighting was on January 9, 1947, at the Cecil Hotel, a notorious hotspot for transient visitors and those seeking anonymity. Witnesses reported seeing her arguing with a man in the lobby, though the specifics of their exchange were never uncovered. After this encounter, Elizabeth disappeared from the public eye. The final sightings following her departure from the Cecil Hotel, her movements remain unclear. Some reports suggest she spent time with an unidentified man, a possible companion or even her killer. Others suggest she was seen alone, wandering the streets, visibly distressed. Despite thorough investigations, no one has ever been able to confirm her exact whereabouts. January 15th, 1947, the discovery. On that fateful morning, a mother and her young daughter were walking through the Limerd Park neighborhood when they spotted what they believed was a mannequin lying on the ground. Upon closer inspection, they realized it was the lifeless, mutilated body of Elizabeth Short. Her body had been carefully positioned, severed at the waist and drained of blood. Her face bore eerie slashes, cutting into a grotesque smile. It was clear that whoever had done this had taken their time. The scene became chaotic as police and press swarmed the area, news of the crime spreading quickly. People speculated wildly, and Elizabeth's body, now a macabre symbol, became a central figure in Hollywood's underbelly. As we piece together the events that led to her discovery, we begin to see how fragile her life had become, how easily her dreams could be turned into a nightmare. Investigation process: the search for Elizabeth's killer. The LAPD's first challenge was the shocking nature of Elizabeth's murder. Her body, severed and displayed with such precision, suggested a level of anatomical knowledge. Detectives initially suspected a doctor or butcher, someone familiar with dissection. However, the lack of blood at the scene indicated her body had been moved post-mortem, further complicating the investigation. Gathering evidence in a chaotic scene, police scoured the area for any sign of the killer, but the crime scene was void of any fingerprints or substantial clues. They turned to witnesses, trying to piece together her final days, but the details remained elusive. With no viable leads, detectives combed through her acquaintances, examining everyone she knew, from casual friends to former boyfriends. The role of the press. The case's notoriety quickly drew the attention of reporters, who sensationalized every detail of her life. They painted Elizabeth as a femme fatale, a mysterious beauty who courted danger. This portrayal, while attention-grabbing, hindered the investigation as police resources were stretched thin by an influx of dubious tips and alleged sightings. Chasing leads and analyzing suspects. Over the months following her death, detectives interviewed over 200 potential suspects, ranging from doctors to drifters. Tips poured in, but none led to concrete evidence. False confessions, hoaxes, and red herrings bogged down the investigation, leaving detectives exhausted and empty-handed. With each passing week, the likelihood of finding Elizabeth's killer seemed to fade. Suspects and theories: the search for Elizabeth's killer. Dr. George Hodel. The most notorious suspect emerged years later. Dr. George Hodel, a wealthy doctor with ties to the Hollywood elite. His own son, a former LAPD detective, claimed to have evidence implicating his father. Dr. Hodel's connections, combined with disturbing recordings captured during a wiretap, painted him as a prime suspect, though he was never formally charged. The surgeon theory. Given the precision of Elizabeth's wounds, detectives believed her killer was likely a surgeon or someone with detailed knowledge of human anatomy. This theory led them to several suspects, including local doctors who had suspicious histories or connections to the underworld. Hollywood's dark side. Some believe Elizabeth's murder was part of a more sinister pattern, a possible cult ritual or a targeted hit. Although far-fetched, Hollywood was home to a subculture that dabbled in the occult and secret societies. Elizabeth may have been caught in the crossfire of something far darker than anyone anticipated. The case that never closed. Despite hundreds of interviews, hours of investigation, and countless dead ends, the LAPD was forced to close the case without an arrest. Elizabeth's murder, it seemed, had been the perfect crime, a chilling testament to the power of anonymity in a city like Los Angeles. Public outcry mounted, but without solid evidence, the case went cold. Aftermath and impact. The legacy of the Black Dahlia. Elizabeth Short's death remains one of Hollywood's most infamous cases. Her story, filled with promise and tragedy, has become a dark cautionary tale of the risks hidden behind the glamour of stardom. Over the years, her story has been adapted into books, films, and countless speculations, keeping her memory alive even as her killer remains a ghost. Closing remarks. Elizabeth Short's life and death remain etched in Hollywood's dark history, a stark reminder that the city's allure is often a thin veil hiding grim realities. She arrived in Los Angeles full of dreams, hoping to make a name for herself, yet she left behind a legacy clouded in mystery and horror. As we look back on her story, it's clear that Elizabeth's life was marked by resilience and a deep yearning for something more. But in her quest for fame, she encountered forces darker than she could have ever imagined. Her unsolved murder serves as a haunting symbol of Hollywood's sometimes sinister underbelly, an unsolved mystery that casts a shadow over the city of angels. Though the case remains open, Elizabeth Short's story is a reminder of both the fleeting nature of fame and the tragic consequences of a life cut short. Her name, the Black Dahlia, is now part of Hollywood lore, a tragic figure whose story will continue to captivate the public imagination. Whether her killer will ever be brought to justice is uncertain, but her memory endures, a reminder of dreams unfulfilled and the secrets that still lurk in Hollywood's darkest corners.